The NBA regular season tips off on Tuesday, October 18th, and who better to bet alongside than Rob Veno and Akeem Profit? Rob Veno enters the season ranked number one all-time in NBA profit at WagerTalk. On the flip side, Akeem Profit is looking to replicate last season after he finished up the year picking up over 44 units in profit for his NBA clients. And right now, you can get the first 7 days of the NBA season for less than $5 per day per handicapper. For a limited time, you can get the first full week of NBA from both Rob Veno and Akeem Profit for the cost of just buying one of them. You heard right. For $69, you will get any NBA releases, including 5% best bets from Veno and Ski, from Tuesday, October 18th to Monday, October 24th, 2022. As an added bonus, the first 25 to sign up will get an additional 2 days added to their NBA access, a $100 value for free, taking you through October 26th.
Welcome into the best damn college football show out there. I'm Drew Martin, joined by Ralph Michaels and Robbie Veno. We are breaking down a few games on the Week 8 slate in college football. Going around the horn here, Ralph Michaels, live from Las Vegas, Nevada, right on Fremont Street. Ralph, welcome in. How you feeling, man?
Hey, guys. Always a pleasure. And we're talking about a game that goes, Thursday? And who would have thought at the beginning of the year we'd be talking about South Alabama and Troy as the battle for the Sun Belt? So excited to talk these games. We got a nice slate of games.
Sure. The top spot in the Sun Belt East Division, Battle of the Belt there in South Alabama. Robbie Veno, a guy that knows a little bit about the Sun Belt himself. Robbie, happy Wednesday to you. Welcome in, man.
Happy Wednesday to you, Drew. Happy Wednesday to Ralph as well. And who would have known, as mentioned in Twitter a fefew days ago, that it would have taken a visit from Ralph Michaels to the Philadelphia area to get the Phillies into the NLCS, to get the Eagles to a 6-0 start. Unbelievable. Trying to get transportation back east to help us out a little more. I think we might do that, Ralph. We might get you back here to make these fans here happy. But all's well, guys. Always good to be here on Wednesday to talk a little college football with both of you.
Ralph making the trip around the country. He's a traveling man now, but he's back in Las Vegas, seeing it well in college football. And guys, let's start off with this weeknight action. Ralph talked about it at the top here. Troy and South Alabama. Ralph, we're seeing South Alabama here, minus 3-point home favorites. Actually, a couple shops right now looking at the WagerTalk Live odds screen showing 3 in the hook. That's USA as the home favorite in Mobile, Alabama. If you're not familiar with Troy is also in Alabama. In Troy, Alabama, these two schools not very far apart from each other. It's the Battle of the Belt, a rivalry here, Ralph. What are you thinking? Total of 46.5, USA, minus 3-point home favorites.
Well, Drew, I had to look it up. They're 140 miles apart. So a couple-hour car drive to get there. Hasn't been much of a series. Troy 4-0 straight up in ATS. Previous to last game, which was a 7-point game with a misleading score because they were up by 21, they won the last 3 prior to that by 21 or more points. So a Troy-dominated series, but I'll tell you what, I am so impressed with the South Alabama team. You talk about a team that statistically is doing great, plus 140 yards per game. And let's not forget, they went to UCLA and lost by a point, only got outgained by 8 yards in that game. How good does that loss look as UCLA continues to impress? We'll talk about the Bruins a little more later in the show. Carter Bradley, the transfer quarterback, 13-4 ratio. The team running the ball well, over 4 yards per carry, over 160 yards per game. The defense, rush defense, holding teams to 3.2 yards per carry. On Troy, you have a team that's 4-0 as a dog, 3-0 against the spread on the road. There are 2 losses at Ole Miss and at App State, so both are good losses. Statistically, not quite as good. They played a little tougher schedule. And I'm surprised where they are. If you look at their 2 quarterbacks, they've played 2 quarterbacks in all but 2 games. Gunnar Watson has started most of them. Garrett Dagey, the West Virginia transfer, started 2 games ago. Played the entire game, 100% of the snaps, 17 of 24, but a 1-2 ratio. The quarterbacks combined have an 11-9 ratio, so that's a concern to me. South Alabama, on the flip side, has won the turnover battle or been even in every game. So to me, if I have the better quarterback, defense is even, a team that absolutely knows how to take care of the ball, that has revenge for 4 straight losses, and to me has passed the eye test multiple times this year, I am on that side. I also do lean with the under. 5 of the last 6 in this series have gone under the total. 2 teams that want to run much more than they pass. I think this clock will run quickly.
Sure, we are seeing a total of just 46.5 here, Robbie. To Ralph's point, I mean, USA 5-1 with the only loss being a 1-point loss on the road in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. This team's been one of the more surprising teams nobody's really talking about here, Robbie. What are you thinking in the Battle of the Belts tonight? Or, yeah, Thursday night, excuse me.
Yeah, Thursday night. I, too, have somewhat of an affection for South Alabama this year. They've cashed a couple of tickets for me so far this season. And Troy as well, as a dog, particularly in one game. I think it was against Western Kentucky where they defeated them and covered. I'll say this. Ralph said a lot of the stuff that I would have said, especially where point spreads are concerned, how good Troy has been as a dog on the road, how good USA has been. They're a 3-point favorite here. Every one of their straight up wins this year has been by 3 or more, so the line seems fair. I would say concerns for me, if I was on Troy in this game, would be this. Troy can't run at all. They're 118th in the nation, 88.3 rushing yards per game. And South Alabama has a really strong run defense. Right now, they're sitting at number 12 in the nation at 95.2 rush yards per game. That's against FBS teams. The Troy defense can't stop third down conversions. They've allowed 44.6% third down conversion rate this year. That's not good. And South Alabama converts them like crazy, again, against FBS opponents. 53.3% conversion rate on third down. So those are 2 factors that really, to me, sit in South Alabama's favor. If I'm on South Alabama's side, I'm a little bit worried. Can they run the football in this case? Troy's run defense has been pretty stingy, but you can look to the Mississippi game and see where Ole Miss got 266 on the ground. And again, you could counter that by saying South Alabama is not in Ole Miss's class as far as a rushing team is concerned. So that's duly noted. And they gave up 161 to Appalachian State, which likes to run the football as well. I would say that I think both running games are going to get stifled here because both run defenses are good enough to do so. And this could become a one-dimensional game. When you start looking at pass offense from both of these squads, one ranks 22nd in the nation, one ranks 27th. They can throw it. They have the ability and the receiving cores to get deep. So to me, 46.5, this dropped to 46.5 in good weather. We're staring at between 51 and 59 degrees here. No shot of rain, 2 to 4 mile an hour winds. That's all good for offense. If you can't run and you have to throw, Carter Bradley has proven, as Ralph said, to be a very good quarterback this season. And on the other side, Watson and Daigie have thrown the ball well also. I think 46.5 leaves that key number of 47 wide open, a 27-20 game, a 24-23 game, stuff like that to me, very, very possible here. So I think in my mind, this game may turn one-dimensional. It should be played through the air because neither team will be able to run, and therefore I would look over 46.5. Can't really understand this big of a move downward on the total.
Robbie,
Hey, Drew.
Ralph Michaels on Drew Martin. Ralph,
I have one more
go ahead.
point, Drew. If you're watching the game tomorrow, for Troy, Tej Johnson, Pro Football Focus has Tej Johnson as the highest receiver grade this season in the NCAA. So 22 catches, 21.8 yards per carry. So keep an eye on him. It doesn't, the Pro Focus grade doesn't mean you're going to be an NFL wide receiver, but it just shows how the dynamics of his workload so far this season.
Do you know how they go about making their numbers, Ralph? Like what makes them get a high number?
I don't. I went to read the Troy newspaper and they had pointed out that he was. So, I've seen some funky college numbers from them when they go to their quarterbacks. I think their pro numbers are great. Their college are sort of stretching. So I'm not saying this makes them a Biletnikoff type receiver. I just wanted to point out that the work that he's done against the opponents he's done, he is dynamic.
The Troy newspaper, is that the Eufaula Times there in Alabama?
I had to find a different one where I found the article. So,
Okay.
For those that want some easy places, I'll just throw out a website. I'll give them a little plug. Go to ussportspages.com, and it has maybe 300 sports pages where you can click on a link and get right to the sports page. So it saves you some searching on Google if you check out that site.
Okay, yeah, I like it. I just doing some research in the past on the Sun Belt teams. I've noticed the Eufaula Times there in Alabama does pretty good job with U.S. sports pages. Just .com. Just a question for you: will it still send you to websites where you got to go pay to read it, or sometimes?
Yeah, because a lot of them allow you 1 or 2 per month for free.
Yeah.
So once you use up that month, you're not allowed to. So there are times when I look, and then the other thing you do is, not that I don't mind paying for those ones I access often, but I go as far as this. Sometimes that it shows you the article, and then the paywall takes like 2 seconds to pop up. So I go to the article, I do the squiggly A for select all, I copy, and then I open a Word document and paste it in. And you beat the paywall many times.
No way. You can get the whole thing.
I can't believe he said that, because I do the same thing. I can't believe he said that. That's fantastic.
That's amazing.
That's how you do it, Drew.
Yeah, I love learning that. You know how many times I've been so frustrated, like Dallas Morning News. Oh, you've already read your
Right.
5 articles, can't get it. Oh, that is great information. I'm going to try that next time. But so you only get like 2 seconds, right, Ralph?
Yeah, you got to be quick. There's a lot of times where I miss it. You had to log back in and hit it again. So have your hands on those select all and copy real quick.
He's Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV on Twitter, always giving out good information. Best damn college football show. Talk about good information there, guys. Beating the paywall on some of these newspaper sites. We got Syracuse and Clemson. Not going to have to pay a whole lot of money to find information on these 2 teams. So it's more for the Sun Belt, the MAC. But hey, sometimes you do. Clemson minus 13.5 home favorites here, Robbie. 50 being the total. Syracuse, man, this is the best Syracuse team since what? Donovan McNabb here, Robbie. They're catching 13.5. Tough travel spot, though. They haven't had anything of this nature yet going on the road. What are you thinking here in Clemson, South Carolina, Rob?
Yeah, going all the way back to Donovan McNabb. I don't see too much of the freeze option out of Syracuse, but that probably was the last time that they were in this type of position, Drew. For first place in the ACC Atlantic, they haven't been on the road so far this season, right? They played UConn at UConn with, I think, a backup quarterback. UConn's quarterback got banged up in game 1. Syracuse came in either game 2 or game 3 and played UConn with some very, very young skill position players, routed them. But that's the only road game Syracuse has played all season long. That was 6 weeks ago. So this should be somewhat of an extreme trip for them, I would think. They both played NC State. I went to the common opponent type thing here, and both had home field against NC State. Syracuse last week wins 24-9. Of course, we know NC State was without Devin Leary, their number 1 quarterback. Quite the drop-off between Devin Leary and the backup there at NC State. Clemson beat NC State in Clemson 30-10. Devin Leary was present. NC State couldn't run on either one of these defenses. Syracuse has some really good statistical stuff so far this year. But other than Purdue and Louisville, they haven't really seen an offense that can move the football. And I'll say this, against Purdue and Louisville, those 2 teams put up 409.5 yards on average against the Syracuse defense. 6.25 yards per play, probably even more an important stat when those 2 played against the Syracuse defense. However, the Clemson was lit up by a couple of potent offenses that they faced. Wake Forest and Florida State just last week. Wake Forest, 447 yards, 45 points. FSU, 460 yards, 28 points. So I don't know. Overall statistical stuff looks great defensively, but you have to kind of dig through the weeds to find out which side of the fence you're going to stand on here. I think as far as this matchup is concerned, Clemson will enter the game totally focused on Sean Tucker, Syracuse's NFL caliber running back, and quarterback Garrett Schrader. I think on this show, I've mentioned it before, Drew. Maybe it was on another show with you, maybe our Every Game on the Board deal. But I worry about Garrett Schrader. He runs an awful lot, and he takes an awful lot of hits. And this is the type of defense where you could see Garrett Schrader exit the game in the second quarter due to a hit. And that's always in the back of my mind with Syracuse after watching him 2-3 times this year. Just takes a ton of hits. And Robert and I, in that spread run-oriented offense, they need the quarterback run game. That's incorporated in, so he has to run for them to be successful. I think that Syracuse has been very good where turnovers are concerned. Only 6 all season long. But to combat that, Clemson's only committed 1 turnover in the last 4 weeks, all in ACC play. So they've really straightened that out. I think that where the passing game is concerned and where the chunk yardage game is concerned, Clemson has the edge. DJ Uiagalelei has performed much better, A, protecting the ball, B, completing downfield passes, C, knowing when to take off and run. So I think all around Clemson's offense is better. My power ratings made this game 15, Clemson minus 15. So there's not a lot of wiggle room there. But I think it shows that just from an unbiased standpoint, from a power rating standpoint, it looks like Clemson's the better team. I'd say I worry a little bit about Syracuse on the road. I worry a little bit about their quarterback getting banged up in this game. So I would probably lean Clemson. Guys, I didn't play it, but I think I would lean Clemson. Total here is down to 49.5. Not a big opinion one way or the other on that. The weather conditions here really good. 65 to 71 degrees, no shot of rain, very, very slight winds. So I think if I had to play, I would lean Clemson.
Ralph, what are we thinking here, man? Orange and Tigers, Clemson, South Carolina.
Well, I looked something up while you guys were talking, and I was actually surprised about this. Let's remember back Syracuse just a couple years ago in 2018, they got up to an AP 12 ranking. That was the Eric Dungy team. Their only losses were at Clemson, at Pitt, and against Notre Dame. So they had some recent success. Nothing like starting off the season undefeated this many games. I'm going to just give you reasons why I'm not playing this game. You know, guys, and there's times that I'd love to give you an opinion on every game, but I'll tell you what. Syracuse's strength of schedule, as Rob mentioned. I went to the WagerTalk College Football Stat Guide, number 88. Only playing 1 road game, and that wasn't even a road game. That was Connecticut. They probably had more fans than the Huskies brought, and they played a backup quarterback. The next toughest opponent you faced was NC State last week. Rob and Drew, you guys talked about Schrader running the ball, last week as well. And they played an NC State team that didn't have their quarterback. So your only road game and your toughest opponent were without a quarterback. So I want no part of Syracuse. You're looking at a team that's now on the road. I will say this, though. If you do like Syracuse, the noon time certainly helps you. Playing in Clemson at night against a raucous crowd. Not that the crowd won't be loud, but a noon game, you have a different attitude in that crowd. It's just not as loud. It's just not as intimidating to me. So that certainly does help them. But I look at Clemson, it looks like they always play to their strength of their opponent. That Wake game, they had to come from behind. That NC State game ended up being a 10-point win. The Florida State game, they did have a lead, but they took their foot off the gas. So, Clemson, yes, has dominated Syracuse. I mean, Syracuse has kept a couple games close, but this is a different team where you're not looking past Syracuse now. You have the entire focus. Clemson's not saying, oh, this is only Syracuse. Clemson is saying this is an undefeated team that's ranked that we now have. So I'm not worried about Notre Dame on deck, or I think they have a bye on deck between the Notre Dame games. So either way, the Syracuse defense, astounding numbers, but no competition. Clemson's defense, yes, they gave up 447 against Wake, and yes, they gave up 460 against Florida State, but both of those are on the road. They've played 4 games away from home. They've only played 3 home games. So the situation has me leaning Clemson, but I don't want to be on this Clemson team because it just seems that if they have a lead, they don't extend it, or they play poorly and have to get on the gas to catch up and even just win the game. So for that reason, I will be passing and really giving you no opinion, just some insight.
Ralph Michaels, Rob Veno, Drew Martin. Last game up here, guys. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Ralph, we got UCLA and Oregon. Total of 69.5, actually as high as 70 right now. Oregon -6 in Autzen. I'll tell you this, Ralph, from watching Bo Nix for more games than I care to remember as an Auburn fan, he's actually a pretty good bet on quarterback against defenses that aren't that talented, that aren't going to be getting after him a bunch all game. Whereas against really good defenses, like we saw week 1, the Georgia Bulldogs, that's where he really struggles. I'm not 100. I don't know where UCLA's defense stands. I think they're pretty good. Their offense is really good. That offensive line's good. Running back, quarterback can run as well. I like this UCLA team. I really do. Plus the 6. What's your opinion here, man? What Pacific Northwest, UCLA, Oregon, Big Pac-12 matchup? What are you liking in the Conference of Champions, Ralph?
Well, I mean, I have a system that I ran to look at. I saved it for this game because it applied to both the last game and this game. If a college football team has at least 6 wins and 0 losses, so you're 6-0, you're 7-0, you're 8-0, and now you're a dog of 3 or more. So you're undefeated, you have at least 6 wins, and you're a dog of 3 or more, you have covered 62.7% of the time. So that says UCLA in this game and Syracuse in the previous game. So does it make sense? Yeah, I think it does make sense. So it's a nice, pretty 60+% system with, a decent sample size. Was I a believer UCLA against Bowling Green? No. Against Alabama State? No. Against a 1-point win against South Alabama? Oh, that's UCLA. Against Colorado? No. I mean, you probably played the weakest schedule the first 4 games of the season. I played against them against Washington. I played against them against Utah. So beat me once, shame on me. Beat me twice, I am now a believer in you. So I do believe this game with Charbonneau running the ball, DTR. I mean, you have a 5th-year senior starting quarterback who also runs the ball and averages 5.5, a 15-2 ratio. I look at the offenses, I give UCLA an edge. I look at the defenses, I give UCLA an edge. So I really don't, I really don't have many reasons. The strength of schedule, I have not played this game yet. I have a lot of check marks in UCLA, but even with the Utah and Washington games, those were at home. The only time you went on the road was Colorado. So it's the same situation as Syracuse. We have no road experience going to a place that you haven't won in forever with a team that knows this is probably, the biggest Big 12 game for both of them. I mean, UCLA loses, they're out of the title shot. Oregon probably doesn't have a chance with that Georgia loss to start the season, but you never know. But the defense, as you said, UCLA's defense, when you're playing weak opponents and you look at numbers and you say, yeah, they're allowing 340 yards, that's very good. But if you look at what they are versus the average of those opponents, so UCLA has held their opponents to 72 yards below what they've averaged this year. That is number 26 in the country. So, yeah, I think they are a top 30, top 40 defense. Their offense, number 12. They're averaging 124 yards per game more than their opponents live on defense. I give the edge to UCLA. It's my best bet on the show, I'll say that. It did not make my card yet. There's still a shot at will. But playing the number 102 schedule does concern me with having no true road experience.
Robbie, what are you thinking here, man? UCLA, Ralph got it circled. I got it circled. I don't know, man. What are you thinking in this one?
Yeah, and the power ratings that I make say the number is fair. Because when I first looked at the opener, the Oregon's going to give UCLA 6. And then, of course, you have to go and keep yourself grounded. And numbers show that Oregon should be 6.5. So it's right in that territory. Now you just got to decide which side you like. Drew, you talked about Bo Nix. He's having the time of his life in the Pac-12. That's for sure. As you said, the Georgia game was no fun for Oregon. but everything since has been a lot of fun for them. Bo Nix is averaging 8.3 yards a carrying the football for this team, and 70.4% completions, which we never saw out of him at Auburn. So against this style defense, probably much of the same. I don't think he's played a defense so far this year that is, or excuse me, the best defenses that he's played this year are not any worse than what UCLA is. So I think he probably has a big game. The thing that stands out to me for both of these teams this deep into the season is the play of their offensive lines. And UCLA's offensive line just went in there and uprooted Utah. And Oregon's offensive line has done the same to their opponents. Right now, if you just look at rushing numbers, UCLA per game, 211.5, gained, allowed 99, and they're plus 2.5 yards per carry. Oregon, rushing yards, 241.7, allow 98, plus 3.5 yards per carry. Those are huge line of scrimmage edges, 2.5 and 3.5 per carry. Of course, sack yardage isn't taken out of that. However, both of these guys are mobile. Sacks haven't really been an issue for either team, so the pass protection has been real good here. Oregon probably has a deeper stable of running backs, but Zach Charbonnet and DTR combined equal that. And the one difference maker for UCLA on offense has been Jake Bobo, the transfer wide receiver from Duke, who seemingly is open every time Dorian Thompson-Robinson is looking for him. He's right there. Not the fastest guy, but a great route runner and certainly does a lot after the catch. You know, if it weren't for the weather situation here, guys, I probably would think that 69.5, 70 looks small. These two teams may still make it look small, but weather could be an issue here. It's a 12:30 afternoon start up there at Oregon, and we're looking at temperature-wise 48 to 51 degrees, 75% chance of rain throughout this game, albeit light rain, very little wind. Might make the turf a little bit slick. Oregon's certainly far more used to playing on AstroTurf or field turf with rain than UCLA, which plays on grass, and it hardly ever rains down there. But footing being what it is, it's difficult for defenses on both sides. There's a lot of quickness on both sides of the football here. I still think I could possibly get to an overplay here. I've seen a number of Oregon games throughout the years that I've handicapped, and that's 30 years now, that get over despite light rain. They're very, very used to it. I'll give you some numbers here real quick. UCLA's 5-1 to the over this year. Oregon's 4-2 to the over this year. Oregon games have averaged almost 71 per. Every game that UCLA went over, the over has gotten there by between 4 and 9.5 points. If you wanted to shorten it up to first half, which might be a better option where I'm concerned, Oregon's 5-1 to the over in the first half. Their games averaging 35.3, and UCLA first half games averaging 33.3. Your total sits at 34.5, so it's right in line with all of that. I don't see either defense getting the best of either offense here, and we may see another Pac-12 shootout. We've been seeing them all year long. Probably no reason we wouldn't see one here as well.
Yeah, Robbie, good point. Check the weather, guys, for this one. Pacific Northwest, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific kick. And I think Robbie was getting into some like light rain with totals, anything like that. It really, in my opinion, doesn't matter that much. Heavy rain, however, could be a lot different. So just like rain in just saying that, I think you got to almost like look more deep into it, wait closer till kickoff. Just my two thoughts on it. But I'm going to keep UCLA here, guys. Take the 6 in my pocket for the best bet for the show. I think their offensive line, both Ralph and Robbie touched on it. I think the way that they looked against that Utah defensive front, I haven't seen a Pac-12 team look that good at the point of attack against Utah in quite some time. So this UCLA offensive line, going to look to ride them. Put the 6 in the pocket. Bruins +6. Running back, quarterback, good little duo there. Dual threat and DTR. So UCLA +6 for my best bet. Go around the horn here. Final thoughts, best bet from Ralph Michaels, Rob Veno, best damn college football show. He's on Twitter at CalSportsLV, always giving out gold. Check him out, WagerTalk.com. Obviously knows his college football. is the NBA as well, MLB. Ralph, what else you got going on, and where are you going for best bets, man?
I am going to concur with you. I am going to go UCLA. Rob sort of understatedly said both have good offensive lines. He gave you their rush numbers. UCLA is number 12 in the NCAA. They've allowed 6 sacks, one every 3.1% of the time DTR passes back. Oregon has allowed 1 sack this year for -1 yard. I mean, that's amazing. You look at Georgia Southern's allowed 2 sacks. Ole Miss has allowed 3 sacks. Everyone else is 4 or more. And to put it in perspective, at the bottom of the chart, Akron has been sacked 37 times. So to have allowed 1 sack after 7 games, 6 games or 7 games for 1 yard, that's pretty damn good. With that said, back door wide open. If I have UCLA coming down against this Oregon defense down by 10, it's probably even money on that last bet for me. So happy to back the Bruins as my best bet and might make my card for this weekend.
We got Rob Veno at Rob Veno Sports on Twitter. Always bringing the goods here. Best damn college football show each and every week on Wednesdays. Wager Talk YouTube channel. Robbie, where are you going for best bets, and any final thoughts for the show?
Well, I'll stay in the same game as you guys, and I talked about it a little bit, the total, and I agree with you, Drew. The light rain, especially again in Oregon, doesn't make that big of a difference because they're so used to it. And I do think that the offenses have the edge in this type of situation. So UCLA has turned the ball over only 6 times in 423 snaps. Oregon has turned the ball over 5 times in 439 snaps. And that's just another added bonus to how good these offenses are. But there's just too many parts to have to cover here in this particular game. And I get there's bye week situations here for both. You get time to prepare, but you have to have the players in order to do so. And I just feel like the 2 best units are on the offensive side here. So I'm going to go first half over 34.5. These 2 have really been touchdown type teams. They haven't really been field goal type teams. I don't want to oversell the fact that UCLA moved Utah backward, offensive line versus defensive line, because other teams have done it too. Florida did it. USC just did it last week. Utah's just not as good up front as they are, but they're better than what Oregon is. This is not a Kayvon Thibodeau type team that gets after the quarterback, that gets into the backfield, creates havoc. So I'm going to try over 34.5 points, UCLA, Oregon, first half.
All right, guys. Huge shout out to the chat box as well. Raven Ron in the house. Eric, thanks for joining us live. Wander Sports as well. We got Star Child saying, how would you think UCLA would match up with Georgia? Probably not very well. That's a kind of a good question. Star Child. TD Corral 08 saying rain usually causes turnovers and short fields as well. That's a good point. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Please smash that like button. Feel free to comment below where you agree, where you disagree. All is welcome. And let us know what you're betting this weekend. So I'm Drew Martin. He's Ralph Michaels, Robbie Veno as well. Thanks for tuning in. Thumbs up, and best luck with your bets, guys.
Marco D'Angelo is like a fine wine as he just gets better with age. Since 1980, Marco has been one of the industry's leading handicappers, and this year is no different. Marco is currently the #1 handicapper at WagerTalk this season in college football in both winning percentages and money won, sitting at 27-15 for a net profit of 29 units. The rest of the college football season, including all the college football games, is $4.99. Last year, Marco was 13-4 in bowl games and for a net profit of 34 units. For a limited time, you can take $50 off that price when you use coupon code CFB50, making your final cost just $3.99. And for the first 10 who sign up, we have a free bonus, a $299 value, comping you a 30-day all-access subscription that will include all of Marco's NFL, NBA, and NHL plays for free. Why do you want to bet with Marco in October? Last October, Marco was #1 in the NFL at WagerTalk. His NFL plays went 14-7-2, netting 23 units. His NHL plays went 4-0, he was up 8 units, and his NBA plays went 3-1, up 4 units. You'll want to hurry, this is a limited time offer.